Emma Dimock is a recent Thomas College graduate with a degree in marketing management. She graduated in 3 years with a 4.0 GPA and as valedictorian of her class. In her final semester, Emma started working as an intern at Marshall Communications, my agency, before starting her full-time position where she is now. In her role at Marshall Communications, Emma assists others in the office with research, analysis, communications, meeting facilitation, and copywriting. Taking on projects for many of our clients, Emma uses her time management skills to quickly complete projects with tight deadlines and manage multiple priorities. With her knowledge of our clients, she is able to smoothly transition from working on one project for a client to another project for a different client. And actually, to be honest, multitasking is one of the key skills in any public relations and marketing career. You just have to be able to juggle a lot of balls in any given day. Emma has developed a wide range of skills to assist her in completing the many different projects she works on, including copywriting, social media, and graphic design skills. Her interest in learning new things helps to build the knowledge and experience as well as stay up to date on changing practices required for the public relations and marketing field. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. So, Emma, to kick things off, tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place.
Well, my career is just starting out. I graduated from Thomas College back in May, and while I was at college, I was able to have a couple of internships, and that kind of led me into my career path. I studied marketing management, so I knew that was kind of the field that I wanted to be in. But my internships helped me convert the concepts that I had been learning in class into real-life experience.
Yeah, and kudos to Thomas College because I think they did a really good job in preparing you.
Yeah, definitely. They try to get everyone to do an internship. They have the guaranteed job program, and an internship is a requirement for the guaranteed job program. So then they also have allow the internship to count as a couple of credits, like a class. So instead of taking a class, you can do an internship.
And you did one at Marshall Communications.
So I had my first internship, which was with another Thomas College alum, Talk Media. And that was really a good experience for me at the time because I was doing summer classes through my program at Thomas. I was graduating in 3 years, so through that program, I had to take 6 classes each semester and then 2 over the summer. So I did my internship over the summer, and it was really easy because Talk Media has virtual offices, so I had the flexibility in my internship to also do my classwork, and that really helped because I could also focus on my classwork while learning real-world experience through my internship.
Well, I just remember when you came to work at Marshall Communications, you were just amazing. You're coming in and you just turned on your computer and put your head down and did your work. So,
Yeah.
And we were so impressed with you that when you graduated, I wanted you to continue full time. And actually, I don't know if you even know this, but Bob Moore from Thomas College, who's a vice president there, had called me about you and said, we have this amazing student and we'd love to have you hire her as an intern. And I was so happy because I actually knew your family from when we had worked with the town of Madison when I first started my agency back in the 1990s. So it kind of full circle to have you work at the agency now.
Yeah, and I really love it. I kind of started out doing a lot of research and learning the basics, and now I'm getting more into writing blogs and articles and doing a lot of pitching, creating media lists, more public relations that I had done before.
And infographics, because you have a graphic design background as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about the work that you've been doing, and I'm planning to have you work closely with me. I mean, your organizational skills alone are just very impressive, and your ability to prioritize and keep track of things and follow up. And it's funny, as much as public relations is a creative profession, a lot of it is keeping track of things too, and not letting anything slip through the cracks.
Yeah. I think time management is something that I have a lot of fun with and I like doing. And I think that really helped me graduate in 3 years as well.
I know. It's really remarkable that you were able to do those internships, graduate in 3 years. And then we were just talking about how you're also a dancer. So you were also pursuing your dance, which is a creative form of expression. So I think your brain is kind of very well balanced, right brain, left brain. So if you had it to do all over again, I know your career hasn't been too long yet, but is there anything you would do differently?
I think I would ask more questions. I'm just coming out of college and I'm a very introverted person. So most of the time in classes, I would let other people ask the questions and I would learn from the questions that they had, but I wouldn't really ask my own questions. So I'm kind of building those skills and learning when to ask questions and how to ask. So if I had to do it over again, I probably would have started building those skills and learning when to ask questions sooner, so I wouldn't have to figure it out all on my own, which is kind of what I'm used to doing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you and we've had a little joke because I'm probably about as extroverted as a person can be. And sometimes I wish I would just ask fewer questions, be a little more introverted.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to help you become a little more extroverted too. So we balance each other out. Can you give me an example, Emma, of how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally, the agency or a client?
So I've been working on Pinterest lately. That's kind of the social media platform that I've been working on, especially for Marshall Communications. So I kind of took off all of the boards that we had on there because they had been branded with Nancy Marshall Communications. So I converted it over to Marshall Communications. And I've been able to kind of see how it's grown, see what people are more interested in, and figure out what techniques to use to make people engage a bit more. And I also think it's fun to see the things that I've worked on pitched or create lists, do research, and see it appear in media. So even if I didn't have a hand in whatever it is, it's fun to see something that came from Marshall Communications that ends up in the news.
Right. And a column you had written during your internship actually appeared in the Central Maine newspapers.
Yeah.
That was very exciting. And I know the people at Thomas were excited about that. Lori LaChance, who's the president of Thomas, shared it on her own social media. So that was really exciting for me, too. I know that throughout my whole career, that has been one of the things I've loved the most is when because you do a lot of work before you even send something to a newspaper or magazine or media outlet. And I don't think people really understand how complex that is and how much work it is.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
is very satisfying.
Hmm.
And it's nice when you do it for a client too, and they feel good about it.
Definitely.
So I know that PR, marketing, and certainly social media have changed drastically over the course of my own career. Are you using techniques now that you were not using when you started out?
Well, as I've said, I'm just starting out. So the techniques haven't really changed all that much. But something that I have noticed, especially with Facebook, is that people don't really trust social media as much anymore. And it's kind of harder to get your message out there because people get more irritated with advertisements and they see all of the business posts, and so it's harder to gain their attention, I think, just because they don't trust Facebook as much as a platform, and also they're kind of bombarded by business posts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all about cutting through the clutter because we are just bombarded with so many messages every single day,
Yeah.
both on our, social media and then just broadcast media and everywhere. There's just messages, messages, messages. But I know that if you can really serve your audience and become a thought leader and an expert in your field, people will follow you. So hopefully we can help our clients cut through the clutter
Mm-hmm.
with engaging content.
Yeah.
So have there been obstacles in your career so far, and how have you overcome them?
One of the main obstacles, I think, is my introvertedness and not really speaking up. I haven't really found the key to success with that. I'm still trying to figure out how to start a conversation or keep a conversation going, because that's always been something that I have struggled with and never been all that great at.
Well, it's funny you say that because I feel that introverts have an advantage in some ways. Again, because I'm so extroverted, I have to sometimes force myself to do more listening and less talking. And one thing that my mother taught me from an early age is that if you just listen to people, they'll be very flattered.
Mhm.
And people love to talk about themselves. So I think introverts can have an advantage in social situations by just asking questions and then listening. So, for example, if you just ask people to tell you about their own career and how they got to where they are, and then
Right.
you listen intently, I think people are flattered and will remember you for that.
Yeah. And then you can learn something from them too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. My mom has some dementia issues and she's in assisted living. And it's kind of sad because her memory isn't as good. And I'm constantly reminding her of the things that she taught me from an early age that have helped me in my career. And I know, I've known your mom for many years, and I was so happy to see that Thomas College featured you and your mom because she
Yeah.
also went to Thomas, right?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was her degree in?
I believe it was accounting, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, and she works for the town of Madison. Is that correct?
She works for Madison Electric now, but she used to work for the town.
Oh,
of
right.
Madison.
Okay, yeah. Madison Electric Works. And anyway, there's a whole story about how we worked with the town of Madison and Madison Electric Works to help attract backyard farms
Yeah.
to Madison, which is still a thriving business. And
Yeah.
that was a success story that we were really happy about back in the 1990s. Well, we're going to continue our conversation with Emma shortly, but I want to first share some exciting news with you about how you can connect with me about the podcast. We've now created the PR Maven podcast listener line, and you can call 207 620 9075. You can get in touch with me and ask me questions, share feedback, or ideas for the podcast, including guests that you'd like to hear on the show. So I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you'll call that listener line and leave a recording, and you can indicate when you call if you want that recording to be shared on the podcast or not. And we're here with Tanner, who's our audio engineer from the Portland Pod, and he'll be taking those recordings and inserting them into the podcast. So that's a whole new development in the PR Maven podcast that I'm excited about. And also now is the time for our book and Things to Do pad giveaway. Emma, do you use your Things to Do pad?
Yes, I do.
I think you're one of those kind of PR people who loves to make a list and check things off. And I really value that because I don't like things to slip through the cracks. So to win a copy of my book, PR Works, and a copy of a PR Maven Nation Things to Do pad, go to prmaven.com/giveaway, and you could be our next winner. And also, I should mention that we do have show notes that Emma works on at prmaven.com under the podcast link, prmaven.com/podcast. And feel free to go to those show notes because that's where we have blogs and infographics and all kinds of great content to complement what we're talking about here on the podcast. So we're going to be back with Emma Dimock in just a moment. This podcast is all about growing your network in order to strengthen your brand. In my 30-plus year marketing and PR career, I have seen many organizations waste their precious time and money on marketing because they're trying to obtain success without any strategy to achieve their goals. So many organizations and companies suffer from what I call the shiny object syndrome, trying every new fad that comes down the pike. That's why I created the Marshall Plan 15 years ago. We have done over 100 of these plans for clients, helping them to get out of their day-to-day routine to identify their goals, solidify their brand story, focus in on their ideal customer avatar, analyze their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and create a realistic budget and measurement dashboard. We create the Marshall Plan collaboratively with our clients over the course of 3 months. We have a 65-step process to create a highly customized, actionable plan. And it's not like we come in and say, we are the consultants from away and we know everything. Instead, we come in and say, let's sit down at the table with your leadership team and we'll bring our expertise in what's working in PR and marketing. And our client team brings their knowledge of what's working in their organization. And together we come up with a really amazing plan. For many, it's been a transformative process. I have watched how teams have come together and their faces light up because they have such a sense of accomplishment and they're so excited about the future of their organization. We help our client figure out the best way to implement the plan, sometimes using people within their organization and sometimes with our help. We would love to chat with you about how you can expand your network and achieve your marketing goals with a Marshall Plan. Go to marshallpr.com/marshallplan to learn more about the process, or better yet, send me an email at nancy@prmaven.com and we'll set up a time to talk and get started. And now back to our conversation. Welcome back. And today we're talking with Emma Dimock, who's account assistant at Marshall Communications. And I want to dive back in with the more questions. We talked a little bit about Pinterest in the first segment. And I know personally, I always have thought of Pinterest as being something where people share recipes and home decoration ideas and kind of things that women are interested in. But I know that Pinterest has evolved a lot. So tell me how you're using Pinterest and how people in general are using Pinterest, Emma.
Pinterest is making it easier for businesses to promote themselves on the platform, unlike some other social media platforms. So on Pinterest, you can look at products, buy products, research kind of what products you want to invest in. And this may be easy for services as well, although that hasn't really been tested or researched yet.
Right. Well, one thing, I went to Content Marketing World in Cleveland, Ohio last week, which is a big international conference on content marketing. And we had a presentation from a millennial about how millennials make purchases. And I know as the mother of two millennials, they do extensive research when, if they have the thought, I'm going to buy whatever the thing is, they don't do a lot of impulse buying. So I know my son, Craig, needed a new vehicle, and that's a big purchase. And even for a while, he didn't even have a vehicle. So he was taking Uber and, hitchhike. I don't think it was hitchhiking, but he was asking friends for rides. And I know me personally, I would have been like, I have got to get a car because I can't stand this. But he was like, nope, I'm researching. And, so I feel that if Pinterest can be a place where people who are selling products can provide information that millennials can use as part of their buying process. I know this is like today, if people are buying either a product or a service, they will have done the majority of their research by the time they actually even talk to the salesperson. Yeah. And so if Pinterest is a place that you can provide that kind of information, then that's really great. So I commend you for what you're doing with Pinterest. I know it's kind of having a comeback.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons is because people can do more research about products and what they want to buy on the platform rather than just getting ideas.
Right. So, and, it's good for members of PR Maven Nation to know that they can see our audiograms there. Yeah. As well as link to the show notes. And, you're producing more infographics now. So hopefully we'll have those infographics on there as well. I love infographics. They're so much fun. I know you love them too.
Yeah.
That's kind of a new phenomenon also is just, instead of having a lot of long written content to kind of take all the cogent points and pull them into an infographic that's easy to absorb and remember. Yeah. So, Emma, how do you measure success in PR, social media, and marketing?
Well, again, I'm just starting out. So I've been mostly doing content creation, and I'm just starting to get to the measurement phase because kind of what we've done is start out at the beginning with the creating of the content and then moving forward with implementing it, posting it, whatever it may be, and then looking at the analytics. So especially on social media, they have great analytics that you can look at and figure out how many people are engaging with your posts, how many people are following you, how many people are looking at your posts.
Right, exactly. So you can tell, you can learn really from how people are absorbing your content.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's one of the greatest things about social media is all that you can learn about your audience.
Mm-hmm. And all the different ways that you can look at the research that they do and see what demographics you're reaching and all of the information that they can provide that you didn't have before. Maybe.
Right. So every social network provides some kind of analytics also, if you take the time to look at them. And really any brand that is involved with social media marketing should be looking at those analytics.
Yeah.
So does Pinterest have analytics also?
They do, yeah. It's interesting to see because your impressions will go up just after you've posted something, and then you can see people engaging with it, either pinning it or saving it. So it's very interesting.
I know. I'm somebody who I don't do that much cooking anymore these days, but I do love I love saving all those recipes. I think I probably have a million recipes saved in my Pinterest, and I do share them in our monthly e-newsletter, the Marshall Report. So actually, I've got to pull together a recipe this weekend for next week's Marshall Report. So. And actually, people listening in PR Maven Nation, we do a monthly e-newsletter. And if you want to have interesting articles, and actually, Emma, we should have you write an article about Pinterest for the newsletter. And I do share a recipe. And usually it's a recipe that has a story behind it, something that my mom made for Christmas or 4th of July. I know I shared a lot of blueberry recipes this summer because I visited Wyman's Blueberries up in Cherryfield. That's the funny thing is Cherryfield, Maine is the blueberry capital of the world, not the cherry capital, the blueberry. They should rename it Blueberry Field, but anyway, so Emma, most successful people have a network of fans and followers. I know you have a network at Thomas College of people that are cheering you on, and that's either online or in person or hopefully both. How have you built your network of fans and followers, and has it been a conscious goal or has it happened on its own?
I think it's been a bit of both. Certainly while I was in college, I would attend a lot of networking and career events that would allow me to connect with my fellow students, but alumni or employers as well. And then going to the job fairs that they had. And just getting my name out there and practicing some of those conversation skills with employers from the area.
Right. Well, again, I'll just say that, the way that Thomas prepared you, Professor Rick Saucier was very influential. And I know that he enjoys sharing a lot of our content with Thomas students, and I appreciate that as well. I hope that they're all going to listen to this podcast. So speaking of which, how has your network helped you to advance your career? I know that Bob Moore from Thomas made the introduction from you to me, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had either of my internships if I hadn't had my network, because my professors helped me get connections with employers in the community, people looking for interns, and helped me get my work study as well, because the Thomas College community knew that I was looking for an internship or something that I could do to learn more about marketing, PR. So that's really how my network has helped getting me out there, getting experience. And then, of course, like you said, Bob Moore helped us connect. And so without his connection, I wouldn't have been able to get the job that I have now.
Right. And for me, I'm an alumna of Thomas as well. I have my MBA from Thomas, which I earned in 1994. I think it took me 6 years. I was taking, one course at a time. It was at a very busy time in my life and my career because I was working at Sugarloaf, and also had been just married and was having children. And I used to work all day at Sugarloaf, and then I would get in my car and drive from Carrabassett Valley to Waterville, which was sometimes a treacherous drive, and sometimes, in the dead of winter at night. And I, especially, when I was having children, I was tired. But now, so many years later, I feel like it's all worthwhile because, I did earn my MBA, but also I have you and Whitney Raymond, who has her MBA from Thomas also.
Yeah.
And she went through their program where she earned her undergrad and graduate in 5 years. And you got your you got your undergrad in 3 years. Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk about you getting your graduate degree now. And Megan mentioned too that she was interested in her MBA. So we're going to have to talk about that. Because as we've all talked about, to be successful in PR and marketing today, you just have to keep learning, mm-hmm. and not only learn from professors, but learn from online courses and online resources as well as other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that's what keeps it really exciting. Mm. You can't ever say, oh, phew, I know it all. And actually, I think that's an interesting thing, too, because sometimes people, especially older people, get intimidated by social media because they feel like, oh, I don't know enough. But I think we have to all accept that nobody knows all of it. Mm-hmm. Like, no, it's impossible because there's always a new thing. I know, for example, TikTok, that's something it's a new social platform. I think I signed up for it yesterday. I'm not sure I completed that process because it was like, oh, I got to do that. And then I got distracted. But anyway, so I think that that's good advice, is that don't be intimidated, because there's hardly a human on this planet who can know everything about social media, PR, and marketing. So you've just got to like carve out your lane and try to learn what you need to serve your own audience and meet your own goals, but constantly have your eye out for what's coming down the pike, what's new.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yep.
Yep.
So Emma, speaking of which, is there a book or a resource, a website, or an app that you have found helpful in your career, and why?
Well, since starting at Marshall Communications, I've been introduced to a lot of daily newsletters. So, for example, Spin Sucks, The Skim, Daily Carnage, they all help you stay informed in the world around you, but also learn more about new techniques or the best practices in the PR and marketing field.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Spin Sucks, because I actually met Ginny Dietrich last week at Content Marketing World.
Wow.
And oh, wow, she is just so awesome. I just love her. She's such an inspiration, and she makes me feel like I'm lame as far as like the amount of work that I do. And I feel like I do a lot of work, but she is a machine. So here's a shout out to you, Ginny Dietrich. I just am so impressed with her. So she's somebody who's in PR and social media. She has positioned herself as an expert and a thought leader. She has written books, and she does a daily newsletter. And she has online courses and all sorts of online products. She also is a principal in an agency called Arment Dietrich. So she has a lot. Oh, she is a mother too. She has a young child, and she's a bike rider. So she logs miles and miles on her bike. I don't know how she does it. And I think she sleeps too, actually. It's remarkable. And she looks really good. So Ginny, like, my hat's off to you. Really admire you. So Emma, is there one parting thought you'd like to share with our audience?
Just be like a sponge and learn everything that you can. You can learn from other people, especially the people you work with who have been there longer. Mentors, they have the experience and the knowledge that they can share with you, so you can do a better job, and it'll help you in the future.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I know you're learning from Charlene Williams, who's president of Marshall Communications. And from the time she started working with me in the 90s, she has literally been like a sponge. And she's competitive, so if she doesn't know something, she's going to learn it. Like, she'll leave work, she goes home, she gets online, and whatever it is, she figures it out. So I think that she's been a really great role model for all the others at Marshall Communications. And I'm just so proud of the team that we have. It's really incredible. Like, just every single member of the team adds something. We all kind of have our superpowers.
Yeah.
But what the whole purpose of this podcast is to emphasize that we need to be constantly building our network, both online and in person. And I know that for people like me, it comes more naturally to do the in-person thing, although I do like that social media. I sometimes have said it was sort of invented just for me, because I can be socializing around the clock, and I love that. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I have to try to, like, if I wake up, it's like, oh, I can't look at my phone, even though sometimes I want to. And then I feel that for people like you, as you mentioned, you had a lot of opportunities presented to you while you were a student at Thomas College, whether that was job fairs or introductions that were made, and you had to follow up either on the phone or in person.
Yep.
And sometimes you might not be comfortable, but you kind of, as Megan Crowder shared with us, you kind of sometimes have to be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And get out of your comfort zone. So Emma, hopefully, as we go forward, I'm going to learn a little more from you about being a little more introverted and You're going to learn a little more from me about being a little more extroverted.
Sounds great.
We'll meet in the middle. But no, I really admire your work ethic and your positive attitude and your grit and tenacity. I mean, it took a lot of tenacity for you to finish a 4-year degree in only 3 years, plus doing internships and dancing. And I think working at North Star Orchards, which is your parents' apple orchard in Madison, Maine. It's apple season right now, so I'm going to be trying to get up and visit the orchard because I love those fresh apples. And then there's all those other products, I think, like apple pies. What other kind of apple things do they have in the store there?
Apple jams, jellies. We have apple syrup and maple syrup because we do boil our own syrup now.
Oh, wow.
Well. Yeah.
I didn't know you also did maple syrup. And of course, we worked with the Maine maple syrup producers. So that's been a really fun client for us to work with as well. Well, Emma, I feel like there's so much we could talk about, and hopefully we'll have to have you back for another episode of the PR Maven podcast. But thank you for coming to the Portland Pod today, and it was a lot of fun talking with you.
Well, thank you. It was fun talking to you too.
That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.